Hi, I'm Miss Evans, the art teacher at King's Moncton, and if you're interested in A Level Art, here's a little bit about the course and things that you should know. The course that we teach is an AQA course. It's art, craft and design, and the course structure is two components. Component one is person investigation. This has no time limit. We tend to do it throughout the entirety of Year 12, beginning with a skills-based module in the autumn term, and then moving into the NEA, into the coursework element in the spring and summer and in the autumn of Year 13. The second component is the externally set assignment. This is the equivalent of an exam for the Art A level. You respond to an external theme or topic. There's normally about 15 to choose from. The preparatory period is from February normally of the spring term when you are in Year 13, and it takes us right through to usually somewhere around the Easter holidays, at which point you spend 3 days in the art room with me to create a final piece, and that essentially then puts a finish to your exam unit, and that will be the equivalent of the exams that other courses sit in the hall. So there's no written or tested component. The exam is a sketchbook and is again done over a longer period of time, culminating in a final outcome. Component one, the person investigation, so the coursework is with 60% of your overall grade, and then the exam is 40% of your A level. Again, that exam unit is a much shorter body of work, so it does have a lesser weighting. So as previously mentioned, the specification that we run at King's Moncton is art, craft and design. The reason for this is that it gives pupils a lot more flexibility in terms of the kind of artwork that they produce. So there's areas of study within art, craft and design such as fine art, graphic communication, textile design, 3D design and photography. For component one, you must show 2 or more of these endorsed titles. So they want candidates, AQA would like candidates to be exploring a range of different materials and processes. So in some ways, it means that you're not limited. You're not limited to just focusing on one kind of technique. But the challenge here, I suppose, is that you do have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. But we do lots of workshops, we do lots of experimentation as a class to really build your confidence. And I think it's a really exciting part of the course that you are, by the course's very nature, forced into trying out new and exciting techniques and processes. For your exam, for component 2, you must show evidence of areas drawn from 1 or more of the endorsed titles, so it is a little bit narrower. Again, that exam unit, you must remember, is a shorter body of work, much shorter than the coursework, and so they're being realistic there with what they're expecting. Usually what we find is that students will explore a few different types of techniques, materials and processes in that component 1, and then narrow down to something that they feel that they're very comfortable and skilled with and can really push to its limits for that exam unit in the spring of Year 13. So there are 4 assessment objectives that pupils are marked under for the A level. I'm going to talk you quickly through the mark scheme and how that works under each assessment objective. So there are 24 marks available for each of these AOs, and the marks awarded will vary depending on whether your teacher feels that you've hit certain things in convincing, clear, adequate or just manners. So these grids, when you do the A level, if you choose this course, you will have these grids in your book. We'll refer to them constantly, but I want to give you just a little brief overview because it's very different to the way that you will have been marked at GCSE possibly, but certainly when you did Key Stage 3. So AO1 is investigating artists and context. So out of 24, if we're looking up at the sort of highest marks within this, we're looking at exceptional ability to develop ideas, lots of analysis, critical understanding, high level of specialist vocabulary. So, you will be coached through all of this. We do lots of work on how to develop that analytical tone, how to talk about artists, and the beauty of a course like the Art A level is that it's a very evolving course and body of work. So actually you can keep on changing and editing and making amendments and working with me as your teacher, with Mrs. Goggs as the art technician on these bits of analysis, these bits of response, right the way through until your final submission. So the next assessment objective is all about media, materials, techniques and processes. I've put a few examples just dotted around some of these slides that will be really beneficial to look at. You can see there's a range of materials used. So again, marked out to 24, really want you to explore and select appropriate resources, thinking about what materials suit your theme or your topic. And that experimental skills-based body of work that we do at the beginning of year 12, and then the fact that that component 1 needs to focus on 2 or more specialisms really helps you to naturally develop this AO. So, thinking about this mark scheme, because of that natural development and the building up of your body of work, you will be able to hopefully evidence quite easily this consistent ability to explore, that you've reviewed and refined ideas, that your project is a working project, that we can see that development and that ongoing review and development of your ideas. Okay, and to whiz through our last 2 AOs, assessment objective 3, recording ideas. I always find this is the trickiest one really to get your head around. Within the recording ideas, there can be everything from the way that you draw, the way you design, the way you annotate, all of these things, the way you photograph, they all can fall under your recording of ideas. It's any way in your sketchbook in which you communicate the ideas within your project and how you are going to bring these into some sort of artistic endeavour or outcome. Again, you can see through this mark scheme, and it will be really beneficial to look through these, at your own time and your own pace. We go from sort of a minimal ability to record ideas, some ability, reasonably consistent, confident, and exceptional. For these kind of confident, high developed, and exceptional brackets up at the top, you're looking for a real ability to identify sources, to talk about sources, to find things that are relevant to your personal ideas and outcomes, to have a real coherent, critical reflection of your work throughout your sketchbook or your study sheets. We look at lots of examples when we do assessment objective 3 and when we weave this into your project. So it's nothing really to overly concern yourselves about, but it is probably the trickiest AO within the A level. And then AO4, really the fun bit, I suppose, for a lot of people, although I'm a big lover of a sketchbook. A lot of artists, that's the sort of process, and the outcome is the bit that you are dying to get your teeth stuck into. And AO4 is all about that personal presentation, a meaningful response, realising intentions. It's about how you take everything you've done in your beautiful books and create an amazing final outcome. And again, marked out 24, you could do a beautiful final piece, but if it's got no relevance to the topic you've chosen and your book and all of the research and design work and experimentation that you've done, it's not going to have that sort of higher level, exceptionally clear, coherent and accurate sort of sense to it. So again, it's something that we do little mini practices of throughout the year in year 12. So as when you get to the end of component 1 and when you get to having to come up with an outcome for component 2, this is something that is second nature to you, and something that as artists is a very enjoyable process, seeing those ideas come to life. So that's the A-level course. It's a course I love teaching. It's a course I'm sure lots of you would absolutely love to take at A-level because of its creative, independent nature. You can build a project that is entirely your own. I'm there to facilitate your ideas and to help you build the best portfolio that you possibly can, but it's really something that is so pupil driven, and the scope for imagination and creativity is pretty much endless. If you think it's an A-level you'd be interested in, pop in and see me anytime, and my door is always open, or my email is on this slide. If you feel more comfortable to just drop me a message, then please do so.